Welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean. Not an other, because there'll be more and there'll be less. But another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. I'm with a gentleman who I've been friends with on Facebook for quite a while, but this is the first time I'm meeting him, Mr. Ronnie Robson from Brampton. Correct?
Yes. Yeah, that is correct. Just outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
I've been there many times. The Brampton Theatre is a wonderful, wonderful facility. I'm guessing it's still around.
It is. In fact, I just saw Big Sugar there.
Yeah.
Cody Johnson and Big Sugar.
Amazing room. Amazing room.
It is.
Why don't you tell our viewers? I mean, you've got a diverse background. You had we'll call it a real job. You've done some things, but you've got a history in music too, and a long history in music. Why don't you give my viewers a little bit of a background on Mr. Robson?
Sure. Such a musician who's played with, sorry, not played, but recorded with a lot of great people. There's a whole list going on with that one. Some famous people, and I've always been quite fortunate to say so.
So you're a Humber grad, that's correct?
Yes. Humber business grad, actually.
So, and I mean that name, and you're hearing different sorts of universities that are starting to cut different programs, and music being a program that seems to be getting picked on a little bit as usual. But being that business grad from Humber, that's parlayed yourself into, I guess, a successful career in both things that you've been doing?
Well, the thing is, Sean, is I quite didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. My dad was pushing me, and he said to me, he goes, you know what? You're working in a recording studio. You're, doing what you do. You're doing it well, but I wish you would just do something like post-grad. So he said to me, why don't you get your business degree? Because that would be a good thing to have on your belt and your resume. So I did so. And I did it. I was working full-time hours, going to school and getting my business degree at night, plus doing it, back in the day, I was mailing back and forth with things. So, and not only that, University of Boston, I was doing stuff with them too. So, yeah, that was my thing.
And it's interesting because today now it would all be like this. It'd be on a Zoom call or online or what have you, right? So for the younger viewers, they'd be like, how did those guys survive back then?
It was funny because doing tests and stuff, I had to mail all of my books back that I purchased to do, like, there was no, there's no proxy, right? There's no, like, this.
Right.
With the screen going. So I'd have to mail all my books. Then they'd mail the test, and I would do the test and mail it back. So, and same thing with the University of Boston too. With that, it was more of a psych thing that had to do with the business thing. So it was like, yeah. And you're waiting in the mail, you're checking mail every day. But I scored pretty high. I got like 94% on the business test. So I'm good.
Fantastic. What I'm a little fun with you here, because when I was growing up in Halifax, we used to get the new music show on.
Right.
I don't even remember what station it was on, but
City TV.
There you go, and they played it through. I want to say it was CTV down here. I can't remember, but
Right.
But we'd watch. I think it was every Friday night or Saturday night, and we were looking to see Triumph and Gatto and Rush and Toronto. And we'd hear about these legendary places, the Gasworks, Rock and Roll Heaven, Larry's Hideaway, Nag's Head North, which I'm sure you've frequented and played over your career.
I have. Not only playing in various bands back then, but doing guest appearances and going to see other bands,
right?
As well. I was always, as a kid, I was always out of the house. Like I didn't want to stay. I would be either rehearsing or checking out bands. So that's, it is funny that you mentioned Gatto, because I ended up doing a little bit of work with them and knowing them quite well. And that band was absolutely amazing. Absolutely. Love those guys.
We used to get the Pipeline down here. Now, I started playing the bars when I was 17. I got into the bars when I was 16. I was looking grade 10. And the first band that I saw of any significance, they played at the old Crazy Horse here in Dartmouth, was Brighton Rock.
Right on.
And I remember seeing them going, wow, I thought my band was pretty friggin' good. And they come in, right?
They were good. And it's funny that you bring Brighton Rock up, because last night, my wife is in California right now in Palm Springs, and it's a girls' week away. So they all slept over last night and left this morning at like 5:30 or whatever. And they were talking about Brighton Rock. And they asked me, do you remember Brighton Rock? I said, yeah, great band. So one of them is one of the girls that were here, they're relative of one of the band members, the original band members of Brighton Rock. But great band.
Oh yeah, and I mean that was my first foray of, and then I moved to Toronto, and the first night that I'm out, I go and I see a band called Age of Electric that Todd Kearns was fronting, and I'm like,
Todd Kearns,
I can't get away from this, man. Like everywhere you go, there's super talent everywhere, and from where I'm from, or it's a small pond, if you're a little bit good, you blow up, and everybody kind of, you're a name there. I mean, I remember going to the Gasworks, and they used to do the Sunday Night Jam. And you'd see everybody from Sebastian Bach to David Lee Roth to some dude that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
But it was such a thing that we never got down here. That's the one thing about Toronto that I always really enjoyed, was that opportunity to get around people.
Well, it was a great music vibe back in the day. And just to let you know, Todd Kearns, love that boy. He is, like, I love watching him. He is... like, I play bass too, and I sing, and when I watch him, he's like a natural, and I kind of look up to Todd Kearns. If I don't kind of look up, I look up to him. We're going to tag him in this too, by the way.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I mean, Todd's a tall guy anyway, so you would probably look. I mean, I'm 5'10", depending upon what shoes I'm wearing, so I would look up to Todd. So,
well, I'm 6'4", so.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah, you might be able to give him a little bit of a run for his money, but so I mean, just talk about and you're a modest guy. I see that in your posts. You're not over doing it and whatnot, but maybe talk about a few bands that you worked with in the day, that you enjoyed or remembered, having good times with or whatever.
Well, I think Sean, the last project that I was on with the Hollywood Monsters with Stefan out of France. He was living in LA for a while. He worked with a lot of great people down there. Him and I kind of got involved online together. We did a few things, few covers with Sasha Tukach, ex Platinum Blonde drummer. And, I'm talking to him about doing another cover as well. But the last album for me, working with who I did work on with that album, and a lot of them were surprise guests coming in. Really, that was my moment where I went, I can hang up my hat right now and be totally happy. Guys like that worked on the album was Don Airy, and he played with keyboards for Deep Purple and everyone else. Danko Jones, Greg Godovitz, Tommy Denander, who's worked with and wrote for Alice Cooper, and there's so many others. Jim Crean on that album from Buffalo. I mean, just Glenn Drover from ex-Megadeth that I worked with in Hollander too. The first Hollander album with him and his brother and Glenn Poland. That was great too. So it seems to be like the latter half of my life has been the best, and dealing with production and doing everything that I've done. Seriously, I can take the hat and hang it up, and I'd be happy. Trust me.
Well, I mean, I had this conversation with one of my bandmates the other night because we were playing, and there was a good crowd, but they were a little sort of slow to get going in terms of excitement and whatever. So he was a little dejected, and I said to him, "It's not where you start; it's where you finish."
That's right.
So what you're basically saying is another version of that. It's not where you start; it's where you finish. I mean, there's this notion that and ageism is kind of a thing, but where if you get past a certain age or up to a certain age, you got to act your age, or you can't do these types of things anymore, which to me is ridiculous.
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm 80, but in my mind, I'm still 25, you know?
Every time I look in the mirror, I see a 20-year-old, my friend. Like,
Yeah,
you know what
no,
I mean?
and that's true. And you know what? Even back in the day, like when I started working for the recording studios, like I worked in two, um, like I had great people in there too. I had Levon Helm in there. Like I had great people. And a friend of mine owned a rehearsal hall in Toronto, almost Scarborough, was close to Victoria Park. It was on Gerrard Street. And meeting all these guys from like Honeymoon Suite, Kim Mitchell Band, like it was just like I've just been thrown into this like all my life. And even with film, same thing, like actors and actresses. You know, my house can be a pretty interesting place on a Saturday night, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the way that my life has gone, and I totally appreciate, and I appreciate all these people who've, like, they brought me up. I tried to bring them up as well, but they've definitely brought me up, Sean, and it's amazing.
Well,
You
and I
know?
love that. I love that because like this podcast started like everybody else, right? I was playing, I
Yep.
was doing, I don't know, close to 100 shows a year, and then it comes to a grinding halt. I was doing a radio show. I decided, hey, I'm going to start interviewing some of my friends. It'll be a 5-week thing. I'll be back out playing again. The 28th of April will be 4 years into this, right?
Well,
And
see, there you go.
and that's the thing. And one of the things that was a theme was, okay, it sucks that we can't play right now. It sucks that we're being told to stay in and border houses up and whatever. And we don't want to get into that. But I kept saying, if somebody isn't taking advantage of that time by getting better at technology or getting better at doing something, they're going to come out behind the eight ball. And
Right.
it sounds to me like you took advantage of some things to prepare for when anything came back online, and you hit the ground running, and here you are.
Well, that's just it. You know, and I've got a lot of things going on right now too that is going to happen in the near future. But it was funny before the pandemic. Speaking of Hollywood Monsters, we were playing a tour. And I thought, you know what, we'll do, you know, 4 to 6 days in Canada, talk to different bars, sent out the, you know, electronic press kit, did everything we had to do. And I thought, you know what, Northeastern United States really is the place for us to be, because a couple of guys in the band, we had Vinny Appice, who was going to play on drums for that tour. We had Tracy G, ex Ronnie James Dio. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to bring those two back for the fans, for Dio fans to, you know, and Tracy goes, yeah, I'm in. And we started, I think we had like 11 dates booked. And then that fell apart because,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a session musician. I'm not like, I like touring. Yes, I will tour with the right band, with the right situation. But I was really looking forward to this. And now there's talk in 2025 of Hollywood Monsters getting together. I don't know who the drummer or the guitar player is going to be, or maybe a keyboard player. But Stefan and I are talking about releasing some new material and touring in 2025 in both Canada and the US. So it's that part where, you know, everyone kind of shut down. I didn't shut down, man. I'm planning. And with Steph and I, he was doing his stuff. I'm writing for my own cooking show coming up, and, you know, things like that. And helping out at my buddy's new rehearsal studio in Vaughan, just outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. So I've been really, you know, I'm kind of stepping back, but planning for the future. So I'm looking forward to the future, Sean. Are you kidding?
Well, and I mean, we should. I mean, you know, I don't have a problem admitting I turned 54 in September.
Yep.
And, you know, there was an awful lot of lost time where, you know, when I was, like I mentioned in Toronto, I quit for 5 years. I didn't play drums. I didn't do a thing. I had nothing to do with music. And then I moved back to Nova Scotia, and I was probably another good 3 or 4 months before I even bought another drum kit. And was it a waste of time? Yes, it was. But those are all things that you kind of go through to get to where you are now.
But you can't say it was a waste of time, because what you're doing is you're reinventing yourself. You're thinking, you know, it's never a waste of time. Sometimes, you know, like I have Studio B in this room where I do most of my film editing, but all my guitars are around the corner.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I don't pick up a guitar for a month or 6 weeks, but it's for a reason. I don't do that.
Yeah.
So never say waste of time, because it's not.
Well, it's a good point. It's a good point. And some people miss that because there's this tendency I find, and I see it a lot now in doing the podcast where people play the compare game, right?
Right.
They're not in a certain spot where they think they should be, and they see 5 other people that are, and they compare, or I think I'm better than that player, or I think I'm better than that singer, and it just ends up creating all this negative airspace, mostly in your head, but it makes you maybe an undesirable person for other people to want to be around and work with.
Well, the thing is I never talk ill of people. What I think and what I feel and what I say are going to be 2 different things. We talked about Todd Kearns earlier. That cat is amazing.
Yep.
And I know a lot of guys like Todd, and if trust me, if I don't like something, or what something said online or whatever, I mean, unless you're a politician, then I'll be totally after you. But other than that, it's like, no, have respect for your what you do and how you do it and how other people do it. And you know what? Always bring out a positive attitude and try to help other people. And that's the way that I am.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't be negative, because you know what? Music industry has been great to me, and I can't say anything negative about. I could, we could talk about, in person about this person or this person, but within that, saying that, I'm very careful. I choose my words carefully.
Yeah, that's fair. And one of the things that I found, especially since I did this, that you got to kind of guard yourself with, is people that are looking to, I guess, get to know you, thinking that you're going to be a stepping stone for them to meet somebody you're networking, and they kind of go around you and they act like they've just arrived on their own without I guess what I'm saying is a networking piece. I had a post today where it was basically one of the worst things that can happen is when you network and you help somebody get ahead, and then they act like you never did anything for them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a very tough thing, right? Because sometimes what ends up happening too is they'll go and make you look stupid in front of somebody, and it's not even the only thing that you did wrong was make the introduction.
I know. And you know what? Guilty by association sometimes, right?
100%.
That's what happens. I mean, you know what? A lot of people have lifted me up, and I totally appreciate that. And for some reason, like online, or they do something, or I don't talk about it, because they did something for me, and I would never go against them or even if I think they did something wrong, I stay silent about it, because you know what? I know our paths are going to cross again. And it's one of these things where it's like, you know what? I'm just going to shut up.
I'd be interested to get your 2 cents on this topic, because it comes up on my podcast quite a bit, and that's the topic. That's the topic of musicians getting paid, and
right.
You hear all the time that bars don't want to pay. Then you hear it all the time that people are undercutting each other, and I've got my own opinions on it based upon some fact that I've been able to kind of weed out. But I'd be interested to get your take on that, because we seem to be the only business where it's all right to not pay us, but we're also the only business that everybody comes to when the chips are down. They want to have some fun. What's your 2 cents on that?
2 cents on that is start right from the starting gate. Get a good agreement with bars. Don't ask for too much, and protect yourself. If you're going in at $700, go in there at $700. I've had people go in for sound check. They would, set up, everything's great, and all of a sudden, after they're set, the bar owner goes, "Well, you know what? There's only 100 people here."
Yeah.
So I always tell like the younger bands, other people that I know, is like, when sound check happens, get paid right after sound check. You're there. Your gear's there. You're ready to go. So get your, and merchandise. No, the bar owner's not getting a piece of your merch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You say, you know what, I'm going to set up the merch booth for 4 hours. If they say, well, we want a piece of it, say, okay, how much you want? You want, 10%? Okay, I'll tell you what, you give me 10% of your booze sales during the same time. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm saying is go out with a strong agreement. Don't expect too much. Pay your bills with it. I know we spend, we have 10 grand worth of gear and we're playing, for $50, right? And that's the way that we start. But you know what? No, the way that the world is opening, so bars will take advantage of some bands. You're local, we're not going to pay you that much. Well, if you want to do it for $400, then do it. I wouldn't step out of my house for $400 now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Never mind the rest of the band. Right?
Yeah.
And I you know what I mean is say that in all fairness. Like, if that's the case, like if it's $800 or $1,000, great, because I know that I'm going to draw it. But younger bands or bands that are less known, they're going to go through that. But just protect yourself, like in the agreement. And one of those things is as soon as we're finished sound check, you pay us the rest of the money.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. And forget about like band members, equal portions, equal fractions, man.
Yeah.
Percentages. I had a vocalist once say, oh, well, I played in this band and I played in this band and I think I should get a little more. And next thing you know, we moved the rehearsal back to my place because he was out of the band.
Yeah.
Because we're doing the most of the work and this cat's coming in and just doing whatever he's doing and leaving, right? So you got that too. But it's equal portion, it's equal percentage, and that's it.
So one of the things that I tell a lot of people down here is, I did have the fortune of playing Toronto and we did Northern Ontario, Southern Ontario, but Toronto in particular, I do remember that. I'm thankful for being there because it developed character. And what I mean by that is you didn't know who was going to be in the audience. And, everybody it was super competitive. And the guy that was mopping the floors would tell you sucked if he thought you sucked.
Yep.
So it built this confidence, and it built this whole thing where, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do it. And I tell people down here that get nervous or whatever that, try going to Toronto for a week and seeing how you make out, because it's a different world. And, thankful for that. But one of the things that I think maybe is going on now is that you're getting people like, I've been saying this for months. Our game is kind of now too easy to get into, because somebody can have a little bit of talent, go and play a bar, and then the bar will go, well, I'll play them last, and they're just as good. And it's like, yes, but then you'll book them for Super Bowl Sunday and they won't show up.
Yeah.
Where the real player will. And these are things that people just aren't, I guess, equating in their head to how, the world works in terms of music.
Well, you know what? Smart bar owners will get good bands, and they get to know the talent around the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So they'll get people that, they're fair with me, I'm going to be fair with them. And that's some of the things that, with me playing live, especially in Toronto and Ottawa and Montreal, that I got, because they knew me, they knew my band members, and they knew that there was going to be no problems. It's like they didn't care. Like if they were paying us $1,500, they knew that we were going to draw. They knew that we were going to put on a show, and they knew that we're going to probably run over the time slot because, depending on the crowd, depending on the juice, what's happening. But a lot of bar owners, man, they don't care, and they don't know the business. They own the bar. They're dealing with the bar. They're dealing with their people. They're dealing with sales, and they're not putting much thought into musicians. What's gonna bring people in, and how and why. And that drives me crazy. Like I see it all the time now, and it drives me nuts. Like I know a lot of great bands, that should be playing out all over. They can't get the gig. The bar owners say they're too expensive. Well, what's too expensive? Oh, did they go over $50 of what you wanted? Like it doesn't make sense to me. like next Saturday, I'm seeing a band in Orangeville, just northeast of me right now, or sorry, northwest. Great band. Seen them twice. They were in rehearsal hall, the sound in film studios. And, I'd like to get out more out of the house, but my friend said, let's check these bands. But that bar owner up there pays bands to be there because they're out of the GTA and they know they're going to draw a crowd. And that's by reservation only too. So, which is cool because that band is going to bring in the reservations. So it works out.
It does for sure. So if my viewers want to find out more about what you're up to and what you've done and where, what you have on the go, where do they find info on you?
Go to RonnieRobson.com and it has everything there. And Ronnie Robson on Facebook and Amplitude Films on Instagram. I'm on there too. But I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff, Sean, going on. There's going to be new Hollywood Monster stuff, and I'm working on the cooking show, which I'm writing all the songs and playing all the instruments myself for and doing everything. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. But watch out for could be the Hollywood Monsters because that's
and that's cool. The thing about film, I know so many people in the music business. Like I've got to know Sean Duncan that plays drums in LA Guns. That he works. Yeah. He's a stage manager for Criminal Minds. Yeah. Sean McNabb, who played bass in Quiet Riot and Lynch Mob, and he just released a movie with some friends. And will be the last question. But what do you think it is about musicians to transition so well to that other side of the business?
I think it's definitely art. It's definitely art. They understand, the whole music production, that kind of thing on one side, and then you got the film side, which is the same thing without instruments. You're acting, you're doing makeup, you're doing sound, you're doing, everything. You're driving, you're production managing, you can do anything. So I think it's kind of, part and parcel. Like I know so many musicians who are in both businesses. They make their real money on the film side, but they have fun on the music side.
Sure. And you make connections on both sides of the ledger, right? So
yeah, no, exactly. And that's one thing I want to get into too, is more film sound. Like post audio. I'm working on a few things right now, but I'd like to get into it more because I'm home. So it's like I can do it and I understand it. So yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things when I was up there during, between gigs, we would work for either PA Plus or 3L Productions, doing different sorts of things. And I learned, I wouldn't call myself a sound man, but I learned how to hook things up and run lights. And I did follow spot for a bunch of shows. And, thank God I didn't go, man, I'm a drummer in a band. That's beneath me. You know what I mean? I would have missed out in learning a new skill set.
No, exactly. And you know what? As I said, I know so many musicians, and I can do it the other way. I can say, I know so many lighting guys and sound guys and this, that, and the other who are also musicians, right? So,
yep.
Yeah, it comes hand in hand, like filming, like I've been in the business for a year, like since high school, really. So I've been kind of, it's been a two-throne business, which I love.
Always moving. Well, my friend Ronnie, it's so nice to finally meet you. We're going to stay in touch. And you know what? When the cooking show comes online, when you do something with that, we should circle back and do another piece to see what's up there.
I would love that, Sean. Definitely. It's going to be entertaining because it's not going to be like just straight in the kitchen. I'm going to be out with other chefs and other restaurants doing it's going to be fun. Watch.
That's cool because I did an interview earlier tonight with a gentleman who has a podcast. It's a cooking show, but what it is he gets with musicians that are in LA and they talk over while they're cooking. And one of the ones he did was with Sean Duncan from LA Guns. He barbecued in his backyard. It was, really cool stuff, right? So anyway, cool. I look forward to seeing that.
Post the link for that one for me, okay? Post the link.
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah. I want to thank you for doing this.
Thank you, and thank you everybody thank you, Sean, for having me, and thank you everyone for listening to me babble for like almost an hour.
Babble's good conversation. See you later.